y'all. Welcome back to the channel. This is Life's a Mini Story, so let's talk about it. I am your host, Michaela Gatewood. Okay, so as you can see from the title, we got a good one today. Today I am sharing a little bit of my personal life because the Lord has told me that it's time to share, and it's been a long time coming, I will say that. So I quit my job. Yes, as of November 21st, 2025, about a week or so ago, maybe a little bit over a week, I went ahead and said goodbye. I was a teacher for almost 3 years. It was a blessing. It was a journey, to say the least. I learned a lot through being a teacher. I knew that it wasn't going to be something that I was going to do long term, and that's okay. I feel like it was very stressful. I definitely had my times. I definitely had some days where I'm just like, I don't want to do this. But towards the end of me leaving, and it wasn't really, I can't say it was a decision that I came up with on my own, because if it was my decision, I probably would have waited to the end of the school year and probably just try to find something else and, do what I needed to do, or I would have just kept thugging it out, because I'm not gonna lie, as a single woman, like, that income, it was not too bad. I can't lie, it was not too bad. But it was not a decision I feel like I made on my own. This was definitely God impressed this on me. So let me take you back real quick. Maybe a year or so ago, back in March of 2024, I did a fast. Purposely, intentionally, I was like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. You brought me all the way out to Arkansas from Texas. Just off, to me, it was just like it was just like I don't know how to explain it. It happened really quick. I was at home in Texas living with my parents, and I remember my mom told me that she thinks that I should go ahead and go and figure out what I want to do with my life. Not that she was kicking me out, but she knew that I was not really happy where I was at. And so I remember going into prayer, and I talked to God about it, and I'm talking about instantly, God spoke. I mean, it was like almost like God was waiting for me to talk to him about it. He spoke and he said, go back to Arkansas. And I'm like, what? Go back to Arkansas? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm pretty sure some of y'all have heard this before, but I'm about to give y'all like the whole spiel. I'm working you up into how I got to where I'm at right now. So I left Texas within 2 weeks of doing that prayer. I remember God was like, apply for the school district in Arkansas, in Little Rock. And I was like, okay, I'm thinking I'm just going to be like a teacher's assistant, nothing crazy. It is what it is. But the Lord had different plans. And I interviewed after, I think I put my application in around like 9 something at night. About 10:40 that same night, I got an email from the principal asking if I wanted to interview the next day. And I said, oh yeah. It shocked me at first. I was like, dang. And so usually when people want to interview you really like quickly, like when as soon as you put in an application, they're ready to interview you, it's usually because they need a lot of help. And sure enough, they did. I ended up getting the job, and like I said, within 2 weeks I moved down, because it was July, towards the end of July, and usually school starts in August. And so I remember talking to my dad, and he was just like, girl, no, like, just wait until the next school year, you'll be fine. And my mama was like, go for it. Other things happened, and long story short, I was able to get to Arkansas, and God blessed me to get a job making $50,000 starting out. And I thought that was amazing, because that was pretty much the most I've ever made in my life up until that point. And so I was really excited. Never been a teacher in a classroom, but I've been working with children since I was 18. So that wasn't like something new, but learning classroom management was really difficult for me. I'm not gonna lie. But it took time, and I got there, and I think I was pretty good, but it still wasn't like I felt comfortable. I felt like I kind of lacked a lot of skills, and not a lot of people were helping me, get to where, I didn't feel like I had a lot of support with all those kids. And I started off with first grade, and listen, I love the babies, but no thank you. No thank you. No, that didn't last long. But I ended up finishing out the school year, and like I said, I did this fast in March, and I remember talking to God, and I said, Lord, I'm just not having a good time. This just cannot be where you have me. Like, is there more for me? Like, what can I do? And I remember, like, God took me through a 3-day fast, no food, no water. It was Esther fast. And when I tell y'all, the Lord, it's like he was waiting for me to talk to him. It's so crazy because I feel like when the Lord is ready to move, it's like the moment you open your mouth, it's like things just start happening, right? And so I remember fasting, and God started telling me some things. He started releasing some things to me, and he basically kind of asked me, like, you know, what do you want to do? Like, what would you want to do? You're talking about your career. You're talking about you don't want to be a teacher, and you're saying, like, you know, you don't see yourself doing this for a long time. Like, and it was like God was asking me, and I'm telling you, after that second day with no food and no water, I heard God very clear. So it was like God was like having a conversation with me. I don't know, people might think that you're crazy, but if you go 2 days, 48 hours without eating, no food, no water, I don't know about you, but for me, I was hearing a lot of things clearly. So, and I was being able to see things clearly. And the Lord was like, what do you want to do? And I told the Lord, I said, you know, if I could have my way, I would quit my job and become a full-time content creator. Okay, that's what I would do. And I remember the Lord, you know, he was like, okay. And I just kind of left it at that, didn't think nothing of it. And I just continued to fast. And God was showing me other things like he wanted me to heal from, why he brought me to Arkansas, why he had to remove me from where I was at. Because God said he had a plan for me. And he told me that he wanted to bless me. And I just couldn't understand why God wanted to bless me. But that's what God told me. And then from March all the way up until June, I was getting so many revelations. And basically what happened, I got a prophecy saying that basically it was a confirmation that God was telling me that it was time for me to leave, because I kept having dreams that I was either getting fired or I was like throwing stuff at kids. Like, that's so crazy. Like, I've never put my hands on a kid. Please believe me. And I don't need y'all to, you know, believe me or not, but the Lord knows. And I always told myself, if I ever get to the point where I get that frustrated, where I want to put my hand on a child or, you know, throw something at a child, like, it's going to be time for me to go. And excuse me. And of course, I made it through the school year and I was very frustrated, but it wasn't at the kids. It's more so like administration, just a lack of support. And I was just kind of over it. And basically when I got that word in May that God was saying, you know, go ahead and leave. And it was like dream after dream. And I'm a dreamer. So I get these dreams, and God was saying, go ahead and go. And so I remember I was just like high on life. Like, oh my gosh, God is releasing me. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I heard God say, focus on your content. He gave me the Life's A MiniStory Podcast. Like, he kept saying podcast. And I remember sitting with the Lord and I was like, okay, if I have a podcast, what am I going to name it? And God, first it was Life's A Ministry. And then as I looked at it, it came to me, it was like Life's A MiniStory. And that's how the podcast was born. And I launched June 2024, my podcast. And here we are, December 2025, still doing good. I'm very proud of myself. I have almost 70 videos out, like, oh my gosh. And now I'm at 170 something subscribers, and I'm just like, I know that's not a lot, but hear me when I say I believe in God using the little to do an amazing thing. And so I'm grateful for each and every one of you guys that have taken time to subscribe to me. And if you're watching this and you have not subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It is free. Turn on your notification bell so you know when I am posting in whatever. And please comment, guys. I want to engage with you guys. I want to talk to you guys. Tell me how you're doing. How can I be praying for you guys? Because this right here that God has allowed me to do, it's not just, oh, a full-time content creator. Guys, this is ministry. God is using me and putting me in a place that I never thought I would be in. But I remember years ago saying, well, I would like to be in ministry. I just don't know what that entails. I grew up with my dad being a preacher, uncles being preachers, always in the church. I'm like, man, I would like to have a ministry. I just don't know what that would look like. And here God is doing a thing. So let me get back to it. That was my little side note. So yeah, I quit the job. Well, I didn't renew my contract. And I remember that whole summer, it was a lot of spiritual warfare. It's when God gives you a word and God has promised you something and said, hey, and it wasn't like God said, I'm going to do that for you. But I kind of felt like God was leading me into, okay, I just prayed about and fasted that I want to be a full-time content creator. And now you're telling me to quit my job. Oh, absolutely. I'm about to be a full-time content creator. That is exactly what God is telling me to do. So I quit my job. I didn't renew my contract. And I went the whole summer on faith. And then God hit me in July, was like, okay, so yeah, I told you to quit your job. Go ahead and not renew your lease at your townhouse. Not townhouse, at your your loft that you were living in. Don't renew. And I'm just like, don't renew? Where am I going to live at? So he told me to quit my job, and then he told me not to renew. And so when he said not to renew your lease, I'm like, okay. I started seeing U-Hauls, like all of a sudden, just started seeing all these U-Hauls. I'm like, oh, I'm moving. And at that time, I was looking at an apartment that I really want to go to, like I really wanted to go to. And long story short, I ended up moving in with my aunt for 8 months. God put me into another teaching position, but just at a different school in a different district. So you can only imagine, if God told me to leave my job, right, at the end of May, and then here we are in September, my lease just ended, and thank the Lord, he made a way, because I was nervous about that August to September. It was a September. It was like half of August, and then the first beginning of September. I didn't have money. And when I tell you God made a way, my bills were paid, and because my lease was up in the first week of September, I had a prorated, lease, or a prorated rent, and so everything worked out. But I ended up moving in with my aunt. What I thought was going to be like for a month ended up turning into 8 months. I lost my mama. I dang near lost my mind, because I love my aunt, but y'all, it's nothing about living by yourself. I thank God that happened, because I was able to save money, because she didn't charge me anything. Anything like I came home with, it was like I was doing it because like she'd be like, oh, if you want to get some groceries, that's fine. But she never required me to pay her anything. I was able to stack my money. Again, I lost my mama, so I wasn't alone. I was able to be comforted by my aunt. I was blessed to have 3 weeks of time with my family, because just the way everything worked out when my mama passed. She passed it in December, and it was right before the holidays. And as a teacher, I was able to get 2 weeks off, and then I was able to take, bereavement and some sick days, and I was covered. Like, it was fine. And I'm just thinking back, like, wow, God really set that up. I didn't know why at the time that I had to leave my one job, because the first job that I was at, my first year, was horrible. I was gonna put my hair out. I couldn't stand it. And then God put me into a different job, a different teaching position with the 4th graders, and it was older kids, and I was with a great principal, with just great people. And my second year of teaching was amazing. Like, I actually liked it. And so I was so eager to come back the 3rd year, and that's what caught me off guard. So let's get into how the heck I got to November 21st of leaving my job. Okay, let's go. So I left my job, and this is how it started working. So after my second year, I had an amazing summer. I was able to get this, in the spring, so April of 2025, so earlier this year, God blessed me with this townhome. It's an upstairs, downstairs. It's spacious, guys. Like, it's beautiful. I keep saying this is my home before my home with my husband, whenever you're ready, Lord. Whenever you're ready. But this is my home before my family home, my home with my husband and my children. Getting off track. God bless me with this place. I was able to furnish it through my dad. He gave me the money, or he didn't give me money. My dad actually brought stuff so that I can have a furnished home, because I remember when I got this townhome, I said, Lord, please don't give me this nice place and don't allow me to furnish it. When I tell you I'm busting at the seams with everything that the Lord has blessed me with, and it's only by his grace, y'all. God told me to leave my townhome, which had barely anything, to go and live with my aunt for 8 months, just to turn around and bless me with a townhome that's fully furnished, y'all. And the area is so beautiful. I can't believe, because I'm a believer. I'm just so happy that the Lord blessed me with this. And so here I am, right? I had an amazing summer. I got things what I wanted. God allowed me to get what I wanted. I had some extra money. I was just like, guys, I had a great summer. It was almost like the calm before the storm. And I was so happy because I had a great second year as teaching. And I was like, I'm so excited because I ended up looping with my 4th grader. So now I'm teaching 5th grade. Very excited. I don't know what happened when August hit, but it's like all hell broke loose. And I kid you not, since the school year started, I have been experiencing, can I talk? Experiencing? No, experiencing. Why can I say that? I have been going through a lot of spiritual warfare. And when I tell you, it's almost like every week got worse. Every single week got worse. And it started off with just some things I'm not going to talk about, but just some things in my family that just started happening. And then I started school, and I'm talking about day one. We having behaviors. I'm like, what's going on? You know, like, I'm like, okay, maybe this is just how it is. It's a different school. It's a different environment. You know, I didn't start the school year. Like, I didn't start the first day last school year. I ended up starting like a couple of weeks after the school year started. And so I was like, well, maybe this is how it really is. You know, we had to do all this testing, all these things going on. The kids were just out of control. It was crazy. And I just remember thinking like, surely this is not the same school I was at, you know, a couple months ago. You know, surely it's not the same school. And guys, from there, it just got worse. It just got worse. Every week it was something. We had kids getting suspended, kids fighting, being disrespectful. And I'm like, these are the same kids that I taught. Granted, we did have a lot of newer kids, but it was majority of them were the same kids that I taught. And I'm just like, what is going on? And I think it got really, really bad by the time October started, because that was the first year that I experienced, like, my mom wasn't there. It was her birthday, and you know, she passed last year. And so I was dealing with that, and I didn't know if it was a mixture of like dealing with her no longer being here, because you know, holidays and, you know, significant days after a loved one has freshly passed away is really hard. And so I was like, maybe it's a mixture of that, but then the kids are really being bad and all these things are happening. I'm just like, Lord, what is going on? And I remember for 1 week, I kid you not, 7 whole days, I experienced anxiety every single day. Every day for 7 days, I was having so much anxiety. I'm telling you, I was on my knees every night before bed, because it was like I would be anxious at work. I finally get home, and I started like, oh, this is how I really knew something was going on. When I stopped caring about my work just so I can get home. Because I used to be that person that would stay a couple, you know, hours, I'm not gonna lie, a couple hours to get work done, because I really care about my students and I want to make sure I stay ahead and make sure I'm grading, make sure that I'm on top of things. But when I was telling you that for that week, that 7 days of just, I feel like I was dragging. At 3:15, Michaela was gone. And from 3:15, I kid you not, to about 8 or 9 o'clock, I was downstairs on my couch, could not get off that couch. I was extremely exhausted. I was crying. I was just felt so defeated, like, and literally remember saying, this cannot be my life. And I remember calling in. I think it was like it was a Sunday. I remember I was just really crying really bad. And it was just a really, 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 really bad 7 days. But on that 7th day, I remember my friend came over. Shout out to you, girl. You know who you are. My friend came over, and she just spoke life into me. I felt like I was basically getting into a place where I was about to start getting into depression, because I remember I didn't clean my house. Listen, I'm about to let y'all all up in my business. When I get depressed, the last thing I want to do is clean anything. Okay, I did not clean my house. I'm pretty sure there was a smell in here, but when I tell you, my girl came through and she was speaking life to me, she was praying with me, she was listening to me, and I promise you, I heard her say something that only the Lord and I would know. And she was like, well, maybe the reason why you're experiencing what you're experiencing is because some disobedient. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I remember in that moment, I heard God say, what have I been telling you to do? God has been speaking to me since June 2024 about content. But after my mom passed, it's kind of slowed down a little bit. So basically this year in February is when I just started hearing God nonstop. From February all the way up until today. I'll tell you, up until today. God, every single day, I kid you not, there's not a day that goes by when I'm not hearing God say, I need you to create content. I need you to get serious about your podcast. I need you to get serious about your YouTube channel. I kid you not. There is not a day that goes by that God has not spoke to me. But let me tell you this. After my friend left, I heard the Lord say, it's time. And I'm like, it's time for what? Like, what are you talking about? And that's when God started to speak to me. You're about to get ready to leave. And so I didn't know if he meant leave. Like, I heard something about the end of the year. I think that's what it was like. This is going to be your last year. That's what I heard. It's going to be your last year. And so I'm thinking like, oh, so May, basically don't sign my contract. God's about to move me and really do like focus on content. Like I hear God saying like, I need to focus on content. So this must be what he wants me to do. Okay, so get through October, and by that time, after I heard God say, like, you know, this is gonna be your last year, I started calling in. I did not have the energy to go back to work. And so I would call in and keep calling in because I didn't want to be there. And I knew that God was about to do something. I just didn't know how soon he was about to do it. And I was trying to be very strategic about what days I was calling out because I love my kids. It just started becoming very uncomfortable. God made me so uncomfortable to the point that I just was irritated. And it almost felt like the longer I stayed there, every time that I had to go back to work, I would get anxious and I would get angry. And I just couldn't understand why. Like, okay, I know, like, I got to make it to the school year. But then November comes. And the first week of November, God allowed me to get so frustrated. This was the turning point. So I'm sorry if I've been talking out ear off, but this is a podcast, so we're gonna talk. This was the turning point right here. This was the thing that said, Michaela, oh baby girl, it's time for real. That week, it was like a Wednesday. Because remember I told you, if I ever get to the point, if I feel like I wanted to put my hands on somebody, or if I got so angry that I just couldn't function, that it's time for me to go, like leave, I had a moment. So one of my students just got all of a sudden irritated. And now that I'm looking back, oh, she was being used. And because y'all know demonic spirits don't like to see the Lord prospering you. So it's like I got a word from the Lord, and now the enemy trying to block it. So he's using my students now to get to me. Because I had a student that I just never really have issues with. Like she can go there, but not with me. Like we have a good rapport. I have a really good rapport with all my students. And I've been with them going on for 2 years now. And so I remember this girl, I'm talking about, it was the smallest thing that ticked her off, which in turn ticked me off. We was getting ready to take a test, and it was a computerized test. And some of the kids had problems logging in, and I had a couple students that hadn't been there, and they needed to get some stuff updated, and so whatever. And so I wanted to start, in my head, I'm like, let me help everybody get logged in so we can all start the test at the same time, because they couldn't start the test until I, opened up the test to be started. So whatever. And so I didn't realize how many more kids needed help. And the girl, so I'm at my desk trying to, get somebody's stuff together, and I hear her just like, I'm talking about huff, like, and puff so loud. It was like, oh, and I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you? Just like that, because I talk to my kids, like, I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you? And she was like, and it's almost like she hesitated. I saw it in her eyes, and this is why I feel like it was a demonic force working, through her to get to me, because it was almost like she didn't want to. And I kid you not, I'm looking at her, and it was like she was kind of just like, in her, and almost like she was confused herself. She was like, and then she was like, how the kids do, and she was like, this is taking too long. Why can't we just go ahead and take our test? Why are you taking so long? This is not that necessary. And I'm just like thinking in my head, it's the end of the day, and no, you're not getting mad because I'm taking too long. You're mad because I'm taking too long. And I was like, girl, what? And then she started just saying stuff, like she was trying to go back and forth with me, and I'm not gonna lie, I was going back and forth with her too, because I'm like, no, she's not. What's wrong with her? And it got to the point where I'm just like, oh no. I remember saying, I am not about to argue with no child. And I left it at that. And she like, I ain't no child, that's why you did. And it just kept going. I'm like, okay. Then I'm hearing other students popcorning out stuff, and I'm just like, what is going on? When I tell you I got that phone, and I texted in our little group meet, in our staff group meet, I said, I need somebody to come to my room right now because I need a break. And I could not get out that classroom fast enough. I saw somebody in the hallway, and I made eye contact. I said, I need you to come in here. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm on my way. She came in there, and I literally felt like I ran to the bathroom because I felt an explosion about to come out. And it was people in our staff lounge, and our bathroom is in the staff lounge, and I know I slammed that door so freaking hard, and I just bawled my eyes out. I was so angry. Like, I felt like I wanted to square up with a child. I felt like I wanted to square up. But you guys know we don't fight with flesh and blood. Like this, it was a demonic spirit working within her to get to me. And when I tell you, I I was defeated that day. And I remember when I walked back into my house, I got myself together. I was in there for like 15, about 5 minutes, a good 5 minutes. I cried, got myself to relax. I came back into my room and my principal was in there. I guess somebody had called and said, hey, we need somebody in Gatewood's room. And y'all, when I tell you I walked in that room, my principal was looking like a concerned mother. And I love my principal, guys. That is not why I quit. It had nothing to do with, it was time for me to go. I ended up leaving, and then I feel like that was a Wednesday, and every day after that, it just got worse. Because by Friday, when I tell you, I zoomed out that parking lot. And as I'm zooming out the parking lot, I hear God say, I need you to come to me. Let's fast. And when I tell you, I locked in and I fasted. I say I fasted for like 2 days because I had to cry out to the Lord and say, what is going on? I heard God say that you're not going to finish the school year out. You're going to leave sooner than that. Well, mind you, it's early November. And I just fasted and God has spoke to me. And I just remember thinking like, okay, so I put a date on the calendar. And it was the last school day of the semester. Because the reason why I said the day that I said is because I'm like, I can get at least 2 or 3 more checks. More money stocked up or stacked up. I'll be fine. But I remember I had like my little birthday party, and that Sunday after everybody had left and I'm kind of just chilling, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm not going to work tomorrow because it's Monday. Our next day is Monday. I'm like, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and call in now. I'm not giving no explanation because I'm tired of that kind of saying like, oh, I don't feel good, just lying to get out of work. And I'm like, I don't want to be no liar. Like, I just don't want to be there. And so I just remember texting my boss saying, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it tomorrow. And no response. And I didn't make it. And I remember Monday when I got out of my bed, I spent some time with God. And I kid you, this is so funny. When God wants you to know something, you gonna know. People say, oh, I can't hear God. And sometimes I feel like we do hear God. We're just choosing not to listen. Sometimes we don't put ourselves in a position to hear from God. But I remember, and I'm about to give y'all a little TMI. I remember I got up to use the bathroom. I'm literally sitting on the toilet and I'm kind of talking to God, just casual talking. I'm like, God, what do you want me to do this week? What do you want me to do before I actually turn 30? Because I kept feeling like I keep seeing the number 30. I keep hearing the number 30, but I'm thinking it's because I'm about to turn 30. And I literally just asked God, I said, what do you want me to do this week before I turn 30? And as clear as day, in my spirit, I didn't verbally hear it. It was like mostly in my spirit. I heard God say, put your 2 weeks notice in today. Put it in today. And I said, what? Put it in today? He's like, yes, you're about to leave. This is it for you. You're done. And I'm like, what? God, what are you talking about? This is crazy. But when I tell you I acted so fast because I felt God, it was like it's already been a push. Because I started seeing that I think I was getting more and more frustrated the more I stayed. Thinking about staying until May was giving me a lot of anxiety. And I was like, I just need to go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid off because it's going to hurt regardless. Like, I'm about to leave my kids. They've already went through so many teachers, and I'm just like, I don't want to be another person to leave them. But I'm like, you know what? That's not my responsibility. I've done what I needed to do. And clearly the Lord is saying my assignment here is done. And so I have to be obedient. I can't keep holding on to something that God does not want me to hold on to, because what God showed me was, I remember a year prior, I might have said this, I had a dream that I was basically about to get fired because I had thrown something at a child. Like, in my actual dream, I saw that. And I'm the type of person, I write my dreams down. If I remember them, I write it down. And I remember having that dream, and I felt like I got the Lord's interpretation. Cause I was like, what does this mean? What are you saying, God? Remind you, this is a year later. And I literally wrote, I said, actually, let me read it because I have it. Okay, it took me forever to find it because I have so many dreams I write down. But anyways, so I had a dream, like I said, I had thrown something at somebody and I was about to get fired. And someone told me that I needed to run and leave before investigators or whoever was going to come. And they were like, okay, so I was getting in my car and a guy came up to me and he was like, hey, Michaela, what are you going to do now? And I remember sitting in my car and I was just like, I don't know. And then it came to me and I said, I'm going to do content creation. And so after I woke up, I was like, I like to like try to see if the Lord's going to speak to me so I can interpret it. And this is what I wrote. I said, God just confirmed to me that he is calling me out of the classroom. He wants me to trust him. If I continue teaching, I might have a moment and make a huge mistake that might cost me. And I remember that dream came up recently. God was like, remember that dream that you had. So I was basically feeling like I was in the route of doing something that that was going to cost me. Like I felt like I was getting so angry at the job that I was just like, Lord, if you don't intervene, I don't know what's going to happen. And so November 21st was my last day, and it was very hard to tell the kids. I had kept it a secret a whole week, and it was the end of the day. And I know it might sound like, oh, that's so messed up, but I'm telling you, if you tell kids something before or too soon, they're gonna ruin you. Okay, I think they would try to talk me out of leaving, because even as dismissal was about to happen, the kids were like, just stay for 20 more days, just stay until May, just wait until we finish our 5th grade year and then you can leave. Like just saying all these things. And I'm just like, no, I gotta go. And they're like, we'll be better, we'll be good kids and all that stuff. I'm like, it's not because y'all are not being good kids. I'm like, it's just time for me to go. And I told them, I said, the Lord is calling me to move on. And of course they cried. And some of them thought it was a joke. They thought that I was playing a prank on them. And they're like, you're going to be back after the holidays. And I'm like, okay, y'all keep saying that. And I had to show them. I was like, I sent a message to your parents, letting them know that this was my last day. And when some of them saw that, they just started bawling their eyes out. And it was really hard. And I'm not going to lie, I cried. But sometimes you have to move on even though it hurts. And I mean, that's just in life in general. I mean, you just have to. If the Lord is pulling you and calling you into something different, into something more, into a new season, who are you to hold on to that? Because you're only going to cause more problems. And clearly in that dream that I had, God confirmed to me, like, you're coming out this classroom. And if you don't, like if you refuse, if you try to hold on to it, because I was trying to hold on to it. I was trying to hold on to the money. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Because I'm like, that's a consistent paycheck. We get all the holidays, we get the breaks, the summers. I don't have to get a job if I don't want to. Like it's a good money. But the mental is crazy. It does. It's a lot on your mental. But the Lord is like, no, I need you to rely on me for your income. I need you to rely on me for all your needs. He kept telling me, I'm Jehovah Jireh. I'm going to provide for you. I need you to trust me. God has been, and I'm telling you, since I've left, I've had so much peace. Minus yesterday, like last night when, I'm like, oh my gosh, today I would have been going back to work and I kind of got anxious. I'm like, am I really doing this? And when I just take it to God, when I tell you I have been at so much peace, even now sitting right here just filming this video, it feels natural. It feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm just honored. I'm not taking this for granted. I'm not taking this lightly. I'm not telling anybody that they need to leave their job. This is what God has been doing for me. God spoke this over me a year ago and he's been nonstop saying it, and here I am. Obedience sometimes looks crazy to other people, and that's okay. I'm not here to convince anybody that you should believe that this is what the Lord told me. It's not for you to understand, because usually it does look crazy to other people. Why would you quit your job if you don't actually have any income coming in? Why would you do that? Why would you do that knowing that we're in the state of the world that we're in right now? Like, people are losing their jobs. Why would you quit why would you just go out on faith? Why would you just do that? I may look crazy to some people, and that's okay, because it's not the first time I look crazy, and it's probably not going to be the last time. But you know what? All that matters is that what I heard the Lord say, and I know that the Lord is good enough. Even if I did mishear him, my God is better than anything. He's great enough to redirect. But I'm telling you, again, not that I'm trying to convince you, that this is what the Lord has called me to do, and I'm so grateful. The Lord actually told me, he said, what did you ask me for? And I had to go back and say, you know what, God? I'm trusting you on this. You are my provider. I don't need a paycheck to tell me that I'm secure. You have been taking care of me. And God even showed me, like, how many times have you not had money? When I first came to Arkansas, baby, I only had $200 and something in my pocket. God has made a way. Guys, I didn't even realize I had been here for 3 years now. And I'm just like, the Lord has made a way. Like, I have seen the Lord do things that I just would see people talk about or see it on TV, you know, in movies and stuff. And I'm actually living out what God has promised me, that he is going to take care of me. When God, listen, when it's God's will, it's God's bill, okay? When God is ordaining you to do something, don't worry about how we're going to get there. Don't worry about what we're going to eat, what we're going to wear, if we're going to have shelter, if we're going to have a transportation. Don't worry about all those things. God said those are the things that dominate the minds of unbelievers. We are his children. He said that if he takes care of the lilies, if he takes care of the sparrow, if he takes care of all these things, how much more is he going to take care of us? You know, he says that the ungodly people give good gifts to their children. How much more will your Father give to you? Y'all, I'm out here living on faith and a promise. It's a promise that God has given me. I am living on a promise that God said that he's going to take care of me. And I believe that. And like I said, I'm not here to convince anybody to quit your job. I'm not here to convince anybody to say, oh, well, that's what God told me, so maybe that's what you should do too. I'm not doing that. I'm telling you solely my testimony on how God is using me. Do I know all the ins and outs of what God is going to do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know. And so that's why I'm not so eager to share a lot of things, because I don't know. But guess what? As long as I'm following the one that knows all things, the creator, the one that spoke a thing before I was even born, the one that said, Michaela, I have created you for such a time as this. It's okay if I don't know the plan. I'm okay with not knowing the plan. As long as I know that my daily needs are going to be taken care of, I'm fine. And God said, I'm going to do that. That's a given. I said, I'm going to give you your daily bread. Don't worry about that. You're going to be fine. And I'm just grateful. And like I said, it's okay to look crazy in other people's eyes. But it's one thing to be crazy in one person's eyes, in a person's eyes, than to be disobedient in the eyes of the Lord. Because guess what? Noah was crazy too. When he was going around telling people, hey, it's about to rain, y'all better get on this boat. He was crazy too. But he didn't look so crazy when that rain started coming. So you know what? It's okay to look crazy in the eyes of man. But as long as you're being obedient in the eyes of the Lord, that's all that matters. So anyways, I'm here just to encourage somebody, whatever season you're in, whatever God is calling you to be obedient to that. Be obedient to what the Lord says. And just live on his promises. All right, that's all I got. I'm sorry if this video was too long, but y'all, I had to let it out. Hey, and I pray that somebody, if you reached it to the end of this video, thank you. Anyways, guys, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Love you guys. Bye.
Back in that bag again. Whoa, oh, yeah.